This is an intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just a vape show. It's just a vape show. Vape show. This is an intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just a vape show. It's just a vape show. Vape show.
YouTube, what is up? I'm your homeboy Josh, back at you with a look at the Arctic V8 Mini from Horizon Tech. This was actually sent on over by Billy, the Vapin Heathen, my co-host on Project Fog. So come on in here, let's take a look at this thing. But today we're taking a look back at the Arctic Mini. This was actually sent on over by my good buddy Billy. You guys know him as the Vapin Heathen. He's also one of my co-hosts on Project Fog every Tuesday at 10 p.m. So if you haven't checked out the show yet, you should. Anyway, the Arctic is a sub-ohm tank. It's got the fully assembled sub-ohm tank in one of the compartments here, and another you've got a spare drip tip, and another you've got some spares. You get some spare O-rings, you get an extra tank, good stuff. And on the back of the Arctic, you get some information about what makes this particular sub-tank tick. Anyway, the Arctic breaks down so you get your drip tip, you get a lid to the juice fill port, you get your tank section, which does apparently come apart because it comes with a spare glass tank, but for some reason I can't seem to get them apart, so I wouldn't recommend trying unless your glass tank breaks. You get a pre-installed coil with the Arctic, you got your base section, and here are those extras I was telling you about. Billy was also kind enough to go ahead and send on over a couple spare coils. And what's really interesting about the Arctic is there's a bunch of different kinds of coils that you can get for it. You can get tiger coils, hive coils, and snake coils. Pretty cool. Drip tip is a nice wide bore. It does have a bit of a taper to it. It's all Delrin, so it should not get hot on you. The lid to the juice flow has some really interesting sort of material to the top of it. It's kind of a metallic kind of finish. On the side it says Arctic V8 Mini. Here's the tank section again. Again, I can't seem to get this apart, so I wouldn't recommend changing the glass unless you actually break the glass. But you've got your chimney section sort of built in here to this little cage that fits over the coil. It's a nice construction. I like that it's nice and wide open. You can see your juice level here really easily. Juice fill ports are nice and ample. No complaints about the threading between the juice fill port and the juice port lid. Everything here is very nice and buttery. So let's take a look at some of these coils, right? So what it comes with pre-installed is the Tiger coil. It's a 0.3 ohm coil rated to go from 60 to 80 watts. Aside from that, the wicking looks ample, and it looks like the wicking holes are nice and large too. Let's get a good look at the wire inside the coil, shall we? Now traditionally what a Tiger coil is ribbon wire twisted with straight round wire. Looking inside the coil, you can see that this Tiger wire is 2 strands of ribbon wire by the look of it, twisted together. It could be a flattened strand of round wire because it does look like it's anchored to the terminals with round wire there. It also comes with a Hive coil, and what this Hive wire appears to be is 3 strands of twisted wire twisted with 3 more strands of twisted wire. So it's 3 strands, these are twisted together, and then those are twisted together. That's what it looks like. It looks like the wires are actually soldered onto the contacts within the coil. The snake coil appears to be some round wire with some ribbon wire clapped in around it. And I'm excited to see how that vapes as well. It looks like there's been some soldering done here too to the contact points in the coil. Make a good solid connection, so I'm excited to see how that vapes. Anyway, the Tiger coil seems as good a place to start as any. We'll go ahead and screw that on into the base section, connect that up with the tank, screwing it together. And that, my friends, is the Arctic Mini. I'll see you guys on the top side. We'll vape on it. We'll talk about it. Well, YouTube, that was the Arctic V8 Mini from Horizon Tech. It was sent on over by Billy, the Vapin Heathen from Heathen Vape Reviews. I gotta say, I really enjoyed this tank. And I'm not a sub-tank kind of guy. And I'm not a huge believer in exotic coils in sub-tanks. If you saw my coil art video, then you know that these really aren't really my thing, to be honest with you. I don't feel like they normally perform very well. It performs amazingly well in this particular tank, and I feel like that's due to the tank. I feel like that's due to the quad airflow. I feel like that's due to the wide chimney. I feel like that's due to all the wicking on these coils, and I feel like that's due to the small chamber. I don't think it works as well in things like hanger sub tanks or other tanks because those tanks were not built around the coil. I feel like in this case, this tank has been built with this coil in mind, these exotic coils in mind, and they perform very well, very well. I get tons of flavor, I get tons of vapor production, out of this Subtank. This is the snake coil, actually. I think I've lost the tiger coil. I've been looking for it, and I cannot find it, which is a shame because I really enjoyed the tiger coil, and I wanted to take it apart to find out exactly what it was. And now I can't, so that's kind of disappointing. I couldn't tell looking at it if it was just ribbon wire twisted together or if it was ribbon wire and straight wire like a traditional tiger coil. I was really curious about that, but I've been racking my brain as to where I put it, and I cannot find it for the life of me, and I've looked everywhere. But I can tell you that I really enjoyed the tiger coil when I had it. Snake coil, it's probably my least favorite of the bunch, but it performs very well nonetheless. I vape the snake coil a little bit lower generally, probably around no more than about 50 watts in the snake coil. And a good long pull at it, really. Airflow I might tinker with a little bit, close it off about halfway, get it all the way open, something like that. But would I say it's on par with a dripper with an exotic coil? No, but what is? Do they perform better than other Subtank coils? Absolutely. This is probably one of the best Subtanks that I've ever used, to be honest with you. I've really enjoyed using this guy from start to finish. Now, start to finish does not last very long. This tank drains down very quick. If I'm on a break at work, I can fill this tank up and drain it all the way to the bottom within 15 minutes, just chain vaping the thing. It does not last long. This 3mm tank does not last long. These coils swallow juice. They swallow it. Filling this guy is a freaking dream, though. It's a super ample juice fill port. You basically just dump juice in there. It works just phenomenally well, which is good because you got to fill this thing a lot. Excellent flavor on the Hive coil. I notice that it seems to have a little bit longer of a ramp up compared to the other coils that I've tried in here. Tiger coil had a very quick ramp up. It's very warm vape right off the rip. Snake coil does have a bit of a ramp up. I feel like it vapes a bit better at like a lower wattage though. Just like a good long pull on it. The Hive coil, I like to turn up real high, like 100 watts right now. Very cloudy coil. Very cloudy, very flavorful, and that's all the way open. It does a great job keeping up with the wicking at 100 watts. I haven't gotten a single dry hit out of this tank. Very warm, saturated vape. I've been very impressed with the Arctic Mini, and that's saying a lot for a Subtank. I don't usually gravitate toward a Subtank, but ever since I got this, I really haven't wanted to put it down. Around 120 watts, I start to feel like the cotton's going a little bit more dry, a little bit more quickly. I don't like it quite that high. Usually between 100, 110 watts. That's where I like it. It's a very loud tank too. At this point, it's a bit older. There have been a bunch of reviews on this tank, apparently, but I kind of slept at the wheel on this one. But I'm glad I've had the opportunity to try it. So, Billy, thank you again for sending this to me, buddy. I've really enjoyed using this tank, and I can see myself using this thing on a daily basis, to be honest with you. It's one of the few sub-tanks that I can really see myself picking up time and time again. One of the very few Subtanks that I'll go after. I like this thing. I really do. Best of all, it's pretty cheap. You can get it at Vapor DNA for $29.99. It's a $30 cheapo sub-ohm tank. Keep in mind, you're going to have to fill this thing very often. I can chain vape this to nothing in 15 minutes. That's really the one drawback with this tank for me, the small capacity and how often I have to fill it and how fast it goes through juice. But considering how good the vape is, I'm kind of okay with that. So anyway, guys, that is the Arctic V8 Mini from Horizon Tech. Till next time, I'm your homeboy Josh. Vape on, vapors.